before you retire, there are a few critical decisions that you can make that will greatly enhance the chances, not a guarantee, but enhance the chances that you can have a peaceful, relaxing, confident life in retirement. And if you choose to avoid these things or ignore them, you might wind up with a life filled with stress and maybe even some regret. So we're going to talk about some of those steps. We're going to start 5 years out and move our way in. So here we go. Now, before we get started, let me just reiterate, as I am prone to do on videos like this, that I am not a financial expert. I am not a retirement expert, and you should not follow any of the advice that I give you in this video unless you have thoroughly researched it for yourself. And keep in mind that even if you do everything we talk about, life can still throw you some lemons, and sometimes things just don't go according to plan. But we're going to try our best to lay out some things here in this video that can make it much more likely that you're going to enjoy retirement more when that time comes. So we're going to start 5 years out. And 5 years out, you should be already thinking about what life is going to look like when you are retired. What is your average day going to be? What are the things that you want to enjoy while you're retired? If you are not a traveler, then maybe the things that you want to be able to do is enjoy a nice meal out once a week. Or maybe if you have a hobby, like my hobby is photography, you want to be able to afford some new equipment or replacement equipment when the time comes and not get locked into just one thing. And if you are someone like me who enjoys traveling, then how much traveling do you intend to do? Now, for me, I like to go overseas twice a year. I might even like to go more than that, but twice a year seems to be enough for me at the moment. And maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you want to travel and see the rest of the United States. What does retirement look like for you? Write it down. Make a plan. And in that plan, make a list of what you consider, at least now, you're 5 years out, but the things you at least consider now to be the non-negotiables. I will need to do this, this, and this, or I cannot consider myself to be retired successfully. Make that list. Now, if you're 2 years away from retirement and it's too late to start 5 years out, adjust the timeline. Do the best you can, but make a list. Another really important thing to do is to make a financial readiness check. Because if you're 5 years out, you've still got enough time maybe to make some adjustments to make things work the way you want. So keep in mind the way you are investing your retirement funds. If you have a 401k, how is that going? If you have a mutual fund, or if you own stocks, what are the important parts of that? If you have debt, and if it's debt that's over, let's say, 6%, then you probably want to eliminate that debt as much as you can. If you have a home mortgage that's at 2% or 3% that you got 20 years ago, maybe that's not such a big deal to pay off. But you want to be able to see if what you're doing is going to work. Now, I have done, on occasion, a simple Chat GPT, Perplexity, Grok, AI search that if I have this much money invested and mutual funds continue, or whatever, mutual funds are one of the things I check occasionally. Mutual funds continue at an average growth rate of 6% per year. How long is this money going to last me? But that's not really enough. You should probably check with a financial advisor, somebody if you don't need somebody to control your portfolio than somebody who will just charge you a fee to run some numbers, and have them do something that's called the Monte Carlo effect. So the Monte Carlo effect is simply this. They're going to run the numbers through a series of scenarios, maybe 100,000 different scenarios, that will say you have an 83% probability that the way you're going right now is going to work for you. Nothing's ever 100%. But if they say you have a 22% possibility that the way you're going right now, things are going to work out for you, then it's time to rethink. Are you investing too aggressively? Do you need to pull back some on the way that your money is making money? For me, I had one retirement account that I wound up cashing out when I retired that I got years ago when I worked for a little less than 2 years for the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And I set that investment up to be as aggressive as possible. I knew I didn't intend for that to be my retirement income. And if I lost it all, I lost it all. Or if it wound up not making any money, then it didn't make any money. But I wanted to run the risk with that of making as much money as possible. But I didn't put all of my investments into that kind of thing. So being able to run these kinds of scenarios that give you, if interest rates go to 8% or if interest rates drop to 2% or, whatever, then you will have some fairly good idea 5 years out, if possible, of which way you should adjust your savings and your portfolio, if you have one, to get yourself ready for a retirement that will be as financially stress-free as possible. The other thing you want to do 5 years out, if possible, is to be as aggressive as you can at eliminating debt. Every payment you eliminate is money you have to live on later. And so for me, I was paying, overall at one point on all of my credit cards and my automobile debt and everything else, I had a couple of $1,000s a month going out just in paying off debt. And today I have $0 going out paying off debt, which means that I have that couple of $1,000s is just there to buy groceries or to buy gas or to buy a plane ticket to Italy if that's what I want to do. I aggressively plan to eliminate as much debt as possible, and I started pretty early. But in addition to that, it may be more complicated than that for some people. Now may be the time to think about downsizing your home so that you can take the equity you have in one to buy another, and by downsizing, you can save on property tax, you can save on electric bills, you can save on heating, you can save on a lot of different things that make your monthly payments come down. And if it's just you and your spouse at this point, do you need a 4-bedroom home? How often do the kids come home? For me, we have this house. My mom owns this house, and there are a couple of bedrooms upstairs on the second floor. And my kids make use of that primarily on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Those are the 2 times when we have almost the entire family here. So, overall, less than a week out of the year. And if we were not financially able to maintain this house, or I should say if my mom wasn't financially able to maintain this house, and we had to downsize to something else, my kids can always rent a hotel room. It's not the end of the world, okay? So thinking about that one big expense that multiplies other expenses, what are you going to do with that? And if you are in a position where you are an adult and you are still financially caring for a child, you're contributing X amount of dollars every month so that they can pay their bills because their job doesn't pay enough or because maybe they got overextended. Now is the time to set a cutoff date and to let your children know that after this date, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore because I have to think about the next 20 to 30 years of my life while I'm not working. So once you have that plan, whenever you're able to have that plan, about 2 years out before your scheduled retirement, take the budget that you set for yourself in that plan and live on that. So, I make I'm bringing home about 80% of what I made when I was working, which is not bad. Statistically, I don't think that's bad. But so take that 80% of what you're making and live on that for 3 to 6 months. Do a trial run. Can we do that? And then stockpile all the other money for that time into a savings account or a CD or a mutual fund or somewhere that you're going to be able to not put your hands on it right away. So if you are living that way and you find that you can't live that way, now's the time when you can say, okay, I need to make some adjustments. I need to rethink how much we're spending. Do we need to spend all this money on dry cleaning? Do we need to spend this much money on, maintenance on the car? Do all of this stuff, can we do with less? And then run that scenario for a little while to see if you can live on that budget. Because believe me, no one wants to step into that on day one of retirement and say, oh my gosh, now I gotta cut out all my spending. We don't want to do that. This is also a good time for you to start thinking about, and I did not do this, to be honest with you, wish I had, but it's the time to start thinking about your health care and how you're going to pay for health care and what kind of Medicare you're going to have, and if you're going to get a Medicare Advantage program, what's that going to be? What's that going to cost you? So for me, it was sort of last minute. It was within about 3 months of retirement, it finally hit me that, I've spent all this time, my employer paid about 80% of my health care. And what's that going to look like when I am not working anymore and they're not paying that? So I had to start researching and thinking about what can I afford that will give me the biggest bang for my buck and not break my own personal bank account. And that was a Medicare Advantage program that I have with Blue Cross Blue Shield. There are a number of them out there. Do your research on what works for you. The other thing is that since we're 2 years out, if there is something that's going to be a big cost healthcare bill, an elective surgery or something of that nature, do it now. Don't wait. Do it while your employer is still helping you pay your health insurance. Get that out of the way as much as possible. And depending on your financial situation, you might want to think in terms of purchasing a long-term care insurance policy because, depending on are there family members who can pick up pieces if you suddenly take a turn for the worst physically or health-wise, or are you going to be dependent on assisted living or those kinds of things? Plan for that. Buy that now. It's going to get more expensive as the years go on, trust me, but take care of that now. Maybe even to the point of purchasing your burial insurance if you have not done that already. I have not done that already, but it's on my list for 2026 to take care of getting all of my affairs in order in case the worst should happen. When you're 1 year out, now is the time to really think about any investments that you have and to stockpile as much cash as you can, not to spend, but to have ready. Because from what I've read, a downturn in the market very early in your retirement is more catastrophic than a downturn later in your retirement. It can eliminate a lot of money immediately. Are we expecting that? I'm not. Some people are, but I'm not. But you never know. The market is the market, and it can make a huge adjustment overnight if that's what investors think needs to happen. So try to plan for that as much as possible, that while if the market does drop, you've got cash reserves as much as possible to live off of without having to draw on the interest or the profits made through your stock management. Now, I know a lot of people don't have any of this stuff. They don't have any stocks. They have very little retirement income saved away, and maybe that's a whole other video. But I'm trying to give advice here to people who are planning far enough ahead that they can get a handle on this before it becomes a problem. And one of the things that gets overlooked, I think, in retirement is, what are you going to do? What kind of social network do you have? Now, I'm a loner, I'm an introvert, but I still have a social network that I rely on. It's mostly online, but it's there. You don't want to just wake up every day and think, oh gosh, I'm just going to drink coffee and sit on the porch all day. That's my retirement. What are you going to do? We are wired to be productive. And retirement is not the end of our productivity. So for me, I knew a year out I was planning this channel, and this was going to be my thing that I do during retirement. So whether it's one video a week or 2 videos a week or whatever it's going to wind up being, this, photography, and occasional travel, those are the 3 things that I set up as a network of productivity that would give me purpose when I wake up in the morning. So I don't record these videos every day, obviously, but I do research them every day. And I do write out outlines every day, and sometimes after looking through those outlines, they get trashed because that's some junk. I'm not saying that online. And so it is a constant process of getting this channel ready to be posting videos. That's what wakes me up in the morning. That and 3 cups of coffee. Those 3 things. Those things are the things. So we talked about a lot of stuff. Just remember that retirement is not the finish line. Retirement is the starting gate for something new. You're not done. You're rerouting your activities. You are putting your priorities other places besides work. What are those places? How are you going to be able to afford to live? Make some plans now so that your retirement can be as free and easy as possible. And trust me, if you're 5 years out, don't waste another day. Get started. If you're 2 years out, make up the time. Start now. If you're 6 months out, you might have missed some opportunities of some of the things we've talked about, but it's still not too late. Make yourself ready. I'd love to know what you think are the important things to do before you retire. Leave me some notes in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.